Goku Teleported to Naruto universe. If you haven't watched another part, please watch this before this part, so don't miss other part. Before that, if you are new on channel, please subscribe to join Yuwu Army with others, otakus, and original story writer link in description. Let's get started. Sakura sighed in accomplishment as she finished setting up the last trap. She looked over to her sleeping teammates and noticed Sasuke seemed to be sweating. She walked over and placed her hand on his forehead to find out he was burning up. Sakura looked to her other teammates and seen Naruto had a goofy smile on his face and Goku was letting out a low snore. She chuckled at the two before finally taking a break. It took hours to set up the traps, and the sun had disappeared long ago, leaving the peaceful silence of night. After resting against the trunk of an old tree, Sakura let her eyes close and tried to get some peace and quiet. It wasn't too long before the genin was fast asleep herself. Orochimaru looked at the sound genin team before him consisting of Zaku, Kin, and Osu. You guys know your mission, to find Uchiha Sasuke and kill him, the Sennin ordered, which got a shout of approval from the genin. Excellent, and before I forget, there is a genin out there by the name of Son Goku. He has spiky black hair and onyx black eyes. If you encounter him, then kill him as well. The sound team nodded and left their master alone. As soon as they were gone, Kabuto appeared out of the shadows of the forest. He knew Orochimaru was sending the team to their doom, but hey, it's not like they couldn't be replaced. Why are you so worried about Son Goku, Orochimaru-sama? After all, he's just a genin, Kabuto asked, which got a hiss from the Sennin. That child is no genin, Kabuto. He's strong, and with his so-called Kaiken technique, he can match me at full strength. Orochimaru clenched his fist in anger, remembering the battle he had with the Saiyan. Kabuto couldn't believe that some kid had a technique to match his master at full strength. Anyway, do you have any info on Son Goku, on one of those cards of yours? Kabuto-san: yes, Orochimaru-sama, but from what you told me from a first encounter, it wasn't much to go by. Kabuto handed Orochimaru the card, and the snake sighed in disappointment. Sorry, Kabuto-san, but this info is wrong. You said he's the same strength as Sasuke, but even without his Kaiken technique he could fight you on possibly even grounds, Orochimaru said, while Kabuto took back the card. Like I said, Orochimaru-sama, I could only base his strength off your experience with him, Kabuto said. Well, it doesn't matter. Goku-kun's Kaiken might give him the strength to match me at full, but it has a weakness as well, Orochimaru said. Do tell, Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto said. His technique is indeed powerful, yes, but it's like the celestial gates, only stronger. Just like the gates, it puts a heavy strain on his body while using it, and every time he goes up a level, more strain is added, Orochimaru explained, while Kabuto nodded. So do you think, if you encounter him again, you will win? Kabuto asked and got a nod from the Sennin. Yes, as long as I keep him busy while in that state, his body will eventually become overwhelmed by the pressure of his own technique, leaving him helpless, Orochimaru said, while a sick grin appeared on his face. So do you plan on marking him with the seal? Kabuto asked. I might. With his strength and Sasuke-kun's Sharingan, I would be invincible, Orochimaru said, while Kabuto nodded and left, so his master could continue his planning. Soon, Goku-kun, very soon your power will be mine, Orochimaru. Sakura opened her eyes, hearing the chirping of birds and other various animal sounds in the forest. She put her hand in front of her eyes to shield them from the sun's harsh rays of light. She looked over at her teammates to see them still asleep, and Sasuke looked to be a little bit better. Sakura couldn't believe how the others slept for so long. Sakura looked over her traps that she laid to see none had been triggered, meaning no one tried to attack them while they were sleeping. Suddenly Sakura's senses were high on alert when she heard the bushes moving and the sound of the trees rustling. Suddenly a team of genin appeared before her. Two were male while one of them was female. Their hierates consisted of a musical note. She has never heard of the Sound Village before. Well, look what we have stumbled upon here. A little Kunoichi was all alone and defenseless, the boy with bandages mocked, while the girl sighed. Zaku, we have no time to trash talk. We're here on a mission, the girl said. Kin-sen, try to have a little fun while we're out here, and besides, it's not like this genin is a threat to us, Zaku said, while Sakura's eyes narrowed at being insulted. Anyway, we're here to kill Sasuke, Uchiha and Son Goku. Give both to us now, and we will let you live, Kin said. Sakura looked back to see that her team was still fucking asleep and inwardly cursed. Sakura seen a rope that kept one of her traps from activating and smirked at the sound team, who was confused. I won't give you them, she said, while Kin sighed. Then I guess you'll have to die along with them, she said. Sakura whipped out a shuriken and threw it towards the rope. The rope snapped in two and released one of her hidden traps. A volley of kunai and shuriken was released and shot towards the sound team. They were surprised by the sudden fire of weapons, but acted quickly and dodged the weapons. Sakura rushed forward and started to engage the girl Kin into jutsu. Sakura threw a punch and Kin dodged by leaning back. The sound Kunoichi tried to knee Sakura in the gut, but the pink-haired genin used her already stretched out arm to block it. Sakura spun on her feet and delivered a hard kick to the abdomen. Kin stumbled back from the attack and had to catch her breath. Zaku shot slicing airwaves from his arm bracelets, and it cut into the pink-haired genin like paper. Zaku had a cocky smirk before it changed to an annoyed scowl as he seen Sakura poof into a log. Never underestimate the basics, Sakura said, while throwing a couple of shuriken at the sound genin. He once again used his airwaves to deflect the weapons from him. Sakura threw a kick towards Zaku's head, who ducked from the attack. Kin came from behind and delivered a harsh kick to Sakura's back. The attack sent pain up Sakura's back, and she stumbled forward. Zaku delivered a strong knee to the gut before punching her in the face. Sakura fell to the ground with a groan before returning to her feet. Her emerald eyes showed determination, while her breathing started to get heavier. Zaku rushed forward and was about to attack again. Dynamic entry. Zaku's head exploded in agony as a kick connected and sent him flying towards his team. Sakura looked to see who her savior was, only to find it was Lee-Sen. Her voice uncertain while he flashed her a smile. Yes, Sakura-chan, and I, the second beautiful green beast of Konoha, will be their next opponent. Lee got into the strong fist stance, his eyes hardening and waiting for the upcoming battle. Zaku and Dosu both charged the strangely dressed genin. Lee waited patiently as his enemies approached him. Avoiding Zaku's outstretched fist, Lee thrusted his foot up and connected with Dosu's chin. The sound genin was launched off his feet before falling to the ground. Lee then thrusted his elbow backwards, and Zaku used his own to connect with Lee's in a stalemate. Both glared at the other, but cocky grins were on their face. Lee withdrew his elbow before launching a fist towards Zaku, who did his best to avoid the strike by leaning to the side. Lee's smirk only grew as he jumped and once again delivered a strong kick to Zaku's skull. The sound genin heard a ringing in his ears before a fist connected to his cheek. Zaku fell with a thud, Lee spitting a bit of saliva with a mixture of blood out of his mouth. You bastard, muttered Zaku as he pulled himself up from the ground. Zaku's two other teammates were by his side and decided to rush the Leaf Nin. Lee inwardly cursed seeing the 3-on-1 situation that was about to happen. At this time he really wished Niji or Tenten was here to help. Shaking these thoughts aside, Lee knew he had to protect Sakura while her teammates were out cold. Lee dodged Zaku first, but was met with a fist to the face by Kin and kick to the chest by Dosu. Lee stumbled back before on instinct throwing both arms in an X-crossed position. Lee felt Dosu's fist smash into his guard before he slammed his knee into Dosu. Doing a couple handsprings to create distance, Kin jumped and flipped before slamming her foot down onto Lee with a harsh axe kick. Well, it would have connected had Lee not sidestepped and grabbed her leg. He began to spin the sound Kunoichi before throwing her at Zaku. He made no attempt to catch her, and Kin crashed into a tree trunk. She groaned as she too now heard a strange ringing in her ears. Zaku pointed both hands at Lee before firing off more airwaves. Lee didn't know what the sound genin had in mind, so he dodged. The tree behind Lee got sliced in two before falling down with a crash echoing through the forest. Lee ran towards before leaping in the air and delivering a bone-rattling roundhouse kick to Dosu, who coughed up blood as he landed next to Kin. Now it was only Lee and Zaku left to fight, but what Lee didn't know was Zaku already fired another airwave. Lee felt pain rip through his back as the attack slammed into him, and he crashed hard next to the tree that hid Sakura's teammates. Lee got up with a groan before he glared at Zaku. He twisted on his feet and phased from view. Where the fuck is he? Dosu asked. While the others were concentrating, they were listening for the slightest of movement. A foot appeared and crashed into Dosu, who's seen his vision fade from normal to black. Dosu did a flip and landed, while blood dripped from a new wound on his head. Kin, who got her second wind, launched weapons from shuriken to kunai at Lee, who twisted and dodged out of the weapons' paths. Lee appeared in front of Kin with his eyes steel. Forgive me, miss, he muttered, before uppercutting the sound Kunoichi in the air. Lee jumped up after her and slammed his foot into her chin. The bandages on Lee's arms began to unwrap themselves before attaching themselves to Kin. Kin struggled and tried to get free. Don't bother, you won't be escaping this move, Lee said in a way that almost made Kin shiver. Suddenly the two began to downfall back towards the ground and began to spin. Kin's vision became nothing but a blur as she was spiraling towards her doom. Zaku, seeing his teammate in trouble, pointed his arms to where both Genin's bodies would crash. You are revenge, Lee said before an explosion sounded through the forest. A pillar of dirt shot into the air, while a strong wind blew through the forest. Lee was able to hop out of the way at the last second. When the pillar faded, it showed Kin's body laying there motionlessly. Good job, Lee sent Sakura praised with a smile. Lee hung his head for a moment of silence, but was interrupted when he heard a female chuckle. He looked up only to see a fist crash into his cheek. Lee looked to see his attacker was Kin. How that's not possible, he said, while Kin chuckled. I won't lie, you almost killed me there. Had it not be for Zaku, she pointed towards her teammate. Wo's arm was out. Thanks to my airwaves, your attack was reduced to nothing, Zaku sneered. Lee was going to respond, had a knee not drilled into his cheek. Lee flew over to Sakura and laid in front of her, while trying to clear his vision. That was payback, you bastard, Dosu said. The sound team looked over to Sakura, who was shaking like a leaf. What's wrong, Kunoichi-chan? Afraid you won't be able to save your friends, Kin said, while the other two chuckled. Dosu rushed forwards to Sakura, while whipping out a kunai. Sakura let a lone tear fall from her face, knowing she had failed her friends. A loud clang was heard, and Sakura expected to feel pain, but when she didn't, she looked and seen a sight that almost brought her to tears. Naruto had woken up and his sword was blocking Dosu's weapon. Naruto's blue eyes glared at the sound genin who dared hurt Sakura-chan. But before he could make a move, a familiar sight of spiky hair appeared, and his fist slammed into Dosu. Dosu was rocked off his feet and slammed into a tree. He slumped on the ground, dead or knocked out. Goku had woken up a second after Naruto and seen some guy rushing towards Sakura with a weapon. He was happy Naruto blocked the weapon, but he finished the job. His onyx eyes locked with Saku's in a harsh glare that made Saku stiffen. Before the sound genin knew what happened, a fist slammed into his face before blacking out. Kin couldn't help but stare in shock and fear as her two teammates was easily taken out. Goku turned to Kin. I will give you a minute to take your friends and leave, or you won't be leaving this forest, Goku said with such coldness in his voice that his teammates never heard before. Kin reached into her pouch and threw a scroll towards Team 7. We will meet again, Son Goku, and next time you will die, Kin declared, before picking up her two teammates and leaving. Goku turned to Lee, who finally raised himself off the ground and apparat Team 7. Thanks, Lee-sen. If it wasn't for you, I fear something horrible would have happened to Sakura-sen. Goku offered his hand, which Lee shook. We are comrades of the Hidden Leaf Village, Goku-kun. I will put my life on the line for a fellow shinobi and friend, Lee said, and Goku's respect for the strange nin only grew. Lee, you fool, it's time to get going, said an annoyed voice. Goku and the others turned to two strangers in the trees. One was a teen with long brown hair and eyes that reminded Goku of Hinata's. Standing next to him was a female Kunoichi. This was Hyuga, Niji and Tenten, the other two members of Team Guy. Tenten rushed over to Lee, while Niji remained in his tree. Lee, are you alright? Tenten asked, concerned for her teammate. Lee smiled and was happy that someone cared that he was okay. Niji began to berate him for helping an enemy team and not just taking their scroll for themselves. Tenten, unlike her teammate, gave Goku and Naruto a bow. Thanks for helping, Lee-sen. We both saw the ending of the battle, and I must say you have a strong right hand, Goku-sen, Tenten said, and Goku rubbed the back of his head in the usual sun manner. Well, thanks, I'm just glad someone helped Sakura-sen here while we were incapacitated. And besides, Lee's a nice guy, I would have helped anyway, Goku said, and Tenten nodded. All the genin heard a groan, and they turned to see Sasuke had awakened. Sasuke-kun. Sakura shouted and rushed over to see if the last Uchiha was alright. At that moment, Sasuke had the strangest urge just to kill the pink-haired Kunoichi, but he just ignored it. Team Guy shot off into the trees, leaving Team 7 by themselves. So, how are you feeling, Sasuke? Team Naruto said, and Sasuke smirked at the I was fine until you decided to show your face to me, dope. Now I might get sick again, Naruto growled at the playful banner, and Goku chuckled at the poor blonde. When Sasuke got to his feet, all of Team 7 shot off into the woods with their destination in mind. The tower came into view after a few minutes of traveling. They arrived at the tower, and they decided it was time to open their scrolls. When both scrolls poofed, a man wearing a chunin jacket appeared. He had a scar across his nose, brown hair and eyes that showed a sense of pride. Iruka-sensei. Naruto shouted while a smile formed on his face at seeing his old sensei. That's where I will stop part 11 for today. Before anyone says anything, I'm aware Sasuke didn't use his curse seal in the forest. I'm saving that for the next video. Also, I wanted to point out in a few upcoming chapters, the other Z fighter will make his appearance. So if you want to see them, then please make sure to subscribe our channel and press bell icon for watch latest. And comment what you love any part of this video. Thanks for guys, sayonara.